Are you one of those people that have a tendency to overanalyze what other people said or what happened or what you have to do? And you get into this spiral for hours, maybe even days, and you're really just stressing yourself out. And it looks like there's no way out. But the good news, there is. You just need to know how to handle this. So, but before we go there, I want to tell you, why do we have a tendency to overanalyze things? Because we feel not safe. It may have triggered our fear of abandonment, maybe have triggered our insecurities that we're not enough, and we want to look good. Most of the time, it has to do with the patterns how we manage our stress. And if you're wondering, like, well, I don't even know how I'm doing this, look how your parents did it. Because a lot of times we learn the patterns, how to do anything in our life. Who taught you how to eat with fork and knife? They probably taught you how to manage your stress too. So if you're not happy with your stress management now, it's time to change it. It can take courage, but you can do that as long as you know what you're doing good that helps you and what you're doing something that's not really helping you. The funny thing is that we're seeking control because we want to feel safe. And if you grew up in the environment where you had to be responsible for a lot of people or even responsible just for yourself because you didn't feel safe, insecure in the situations, maybe you had to be very independent because you learned that you cannot trust other people in your family, and maybe they gave you constantly those excuses why they cannot do something, and there's so many broken promises, and you stop trusting them. Or if you grew up in the environment where they're a little bit violent maybe, or not really giving you what you need from emotional level, physical level, then you will not really trust them, and you will be very, very hyper in, like just doing everything by yourself. And you have a trust issue, so you will never delegate anything to anyone, even now, right now, and you don't want anybody getting into your business. Basically, you can become this control, I'm not gonna call freak, just lover, let's say. And naturally, you want to be on top of any situation. So that's why you will be overthinking everything, what happens, because you feel that things are out of control. So, what is that you do? Number one thing, identify, can you control this or not? Okay? And this is actually the first step in my calm process, because C stands for control. And if you're wondering what it is, it's a great process that can help you in any stressful situation. It works like magic. And in the description below, you can find a link where you can go and get the free course. Actually, it's paid, but when you use a special word, you can get it for free with videos and worksheets to help you get through any stressful situation. Control. Okay. What you can control and what you can control. Obviously, we need to let go of those things that you cannot control. For example, weather. There's not much you can do about the weather, right? Sometimes you're sitting in traffic and it looks like you're not like going to jump out of the car and start pushing cars or beep. That's not going to help you either. But because you feel fear of abandonment, and maybe you feel like you have difficulty surviving through this because maybe people will see you differently. Let's say you're late. You're like, I don't want to be seen like some slacker who's not going to show up to work on time. And then you feel like they will fire you. Then you will not be paying for your mortgage and all of those things. So you want to control the situation. So when you're overthinking, that just kind of gives you this illusion that you are controlling the situation. But really, probably you're not. You're just stressing yourself out. So control what you can and stop overthinking that if you cannot really control it. But what you can control is your attitude towards that and the next action steps that you actually can take it. And if you're in that overthinking situation where there's really not much for you to do, but you keep on obsessing about something, it's like a cycle that opened and never can close, then I recommend you to do something that you can control. Go do something small, like you start the cycle and you finish. So, for example, go get some water. You go and get water. It's action step. You complete it. You feel fulfilled. And that is giving you more trust that, hey, you needed to have a control and it happened. So it's supposed to make you feel better. You can also can think about other small things and maybe small tasks that you can do. And when you start doing something else, it really takes away from you overthinking it, and taking some different activity that involves your thinking definitely will help you as well to break that cycle. Although I had plenty of situations in the past that I was doing a lot of activities, but my mind was still sitting on the same thing. This is where we move into second tip. Ask yourself a question. Will it matter in 5 years? Will it matter in 5 days? Will it matter in 5 minutes? And that can be different, of course. Maybe you can say, well, yeah, if they kick me out of a job, is gonna make an impact in 5 minutes. But then you really need to ask yourself, would this really happen? Because you see, a lot of times, what happens to us that we have a tendency of obsessing over things that don't even matter. Like somebody cutting us off in traffic. That doesn't matter, but you messed up the whole day. Why? Because you just kind of went into that spiral. Why? Because it reminded you of some things when somebody disrespected you. And maybe you felt abandoned and then you feel like you're not safe. So then you keep on thinking. It's always triggering something. So it's very important for you to realize where is really the problem. Why you're thinking this and thinking and thinking, you're not letting that go. Especially if you cannot find the solution. Especially when it has to do with other people. We cannot control other people, how they feel, what they react, the same as you don't want to be controlled. If somebody's going to tell you how you need to feel and what you need to do, you're probably going to be like, oh my gosh, shut up. Don't tell me what to do. The same other people, So can you control it? No, you cannot control it. Will it matter in 5 years, 5 months, 5 minutes? If really not impacting your life at all, then you need to let that go. Of course, the problem you may have, well, what if the worst happens? Great. Prepare for that. Make a list of things. So, for example, if you are obsessing right now and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I submitted a report too late. My boss is inviting me to go be somewhere and I couldn't do it. Maybe, like anything that has to do with your safety, that has to do, for example, with money. And then you obsess over this because you don't know what's going to happen naturally. And I believe we are afraid of the future because we've been hurt by the past. And so your survival mechanism kicks in and you overthink, and you're wondering what's going to happen. The boss is inviting me to go to lunch and I think he's going to fire me then. I tell you a story. I remember when I was working in the company like 10 years ago, so, and the boss invited me to come to his office. And and he gave me he said, come here in 10-15 minutes. I still have some things to do. And I was thinking so much. I was thinking I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be all of those things. I was thinking, what did I do wrong? Who I did talk with whom? I was already cleaning my things from my drawers in my mind. I was already thinking I'm not going to be able to pay for the mortgage and all of those things. Totally overthinking. When I got there, I found out that they're giving me a raise. I'm like, are you kidding me? And here I was, overthinking, overanalyzing. Of course, out of fear of abandonment, out of fear of exclusion, all about survival. So, what to do? Prepare for the worst. If you're right now in a situation that you keep on thinking, write it down on a list what will happen if the worst thing will happen. And then when you're done with that, you'll feel so much better. Because you see what happens. When you introduce yourself to the worst thing that happens, it's kind of like you go there already. And then you realize that you will survive. Because there's no situation that will lead you to somewhere where you will die. You will still survive. Very rarely are those situations that actually will be that you will not be surviving. Okay? So you prepare for that. And then you feel more in control. You're like, okay, I know what's going to happen for the future. So, and if I cannot control something, you cannot control. You can control your attitude. Now, we're moving to the third tip is to really let go of the perfectionism. A lot of times we have a tendency of overthinking things because we want to please others, because we want to look good in other people's eyes. Why? If you grew up in an environment where you didn't look loved, where you didn't get enough appreciation and validation just for purely for who you are, you will be having this tendency of doing more, running towards that horizon, proving everyone that you're better than somebody else because you're afraid you will be abandoned. You're afraid that if you're not productive enough, then nobody will love you. Or even worse, maybe you need to work harder so you will be finally appreciated and loved and accepted. So when you start freaking out about something, when you start over analyzing something, other people's opinions, other people's actions, your own actions, ask yourself why this matters to you. What's the big deal? And just try thinking, well, how is my best friend will react to that situation? How is somebody else will react to that situation? And you probably will notice that probably they will react very differently. And that is the key why you acting the way you're acting. Because there's always a reason behind things like that. You stressing out and thinking about the same thing. This is just what's happening on the surface. Ask yourself, why is it important to me? Why? And then if you want to go deeper, you can ask yourself, how is this situation serving me? I know, deep question, isn't it? Because everything has its purpose. But you're the one who assign it. Should you stress about that or you should not? And when you take steps, what I just talked about in this video, and even better yet, you can create more lists that you can prove to yourself that the things are not that bad. The things can actually go better. You just try to remember all those things in your life that you look that you will go for the worst, but actually turn out to be for the better. Like the job that you wanted to have, but then the company went bankrupt. Maybe that person that you really wanted to marry and you thought that they will be the love of your life turned out to be not. And now you're happy you didn't marry them. There are plenty of situations in our lives that the things not that bad. They're actually just working out actually in your favor. You're being protected. So work with yourself. When you start overthinking things, take control by letting this thing go. Put it to peace somehow. Solve it out. And if you notice that you get into this spiral, talk to someone. Talk to the person that maybe was involved in that. Talk with the therapist. Get a coach like me who can help you to manage stressful situations. And if you're interested in that, go to my website, Be Amazing You, and book a session. And also, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you have now subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. And I hope to see you in the next video.